8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the course, How to Be a Full-Time TV Composer with Eddie Gray. It is an honor to be hosting this. My entire life I dreamed of having music be my primary source of income. I wanted more than anything to be involved with music and music production every single day of my life. I am so grateful to be here. It was only 3 short years ago that I originally purchased leads and courses from Aaron Davidson on howtolicenseyourmusic.com. That trail eventually led me to recording albums for Megatrax, signing several publishing deals, developing international clients, selling hundreds of songs, and ultimately led me to becoming the head composer of 2 television shows and 1 pilot. I have learned some things along the way, and I would like to share those insights with you. I want to get into session templates. There are a few things that separate the pros from the amateurs, and this is certainly one of them. When you are composing, you are making thousands upon thousands of decisions. Today's composer is unique in that we can no longer just specialize in 1 or 2 niches if you wish to diversify your income streams. I strongly believe that we have to be able to saturate the market and serve our customers' needs no matter what it takes. To this day, I have clients that still recognize me as the guy who makes mystery investigative music. I have relationships where all I do is make certain songs for certain clients because that is what they need. Your job as a composer is to serve. You have to be able to make the lives of your clients easier if you want that callback. You must go above and beyond to fulfill on your deadlines. Session templates are about efficiency. You have to be able to produce and produce well within a certain time frame. So here is my session template. I call it autoload. Here it is right here. And this is continuously being updated. The first thing you'll recognize is that, there are instruments that you are continuously using, and you want to be able to, to capture those and use those quickly. So here I have an instance of Alchemy. Love Alchemy, really simple to use. Has a lot of, different ways to process. And for a guy like me that, understands just the basics of synthesis, and I'm not too interested in, in going down that rabbit hole, this is a great way to just kind of get started. So, find a sound and you start jamming. So I'll just kind of play something here. Cool. So, like I said, there are things that always come up in a session. I like to have a trigger. This basically allows me to sidechain. More on this. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique. I like to have the click on my tracks area here. This allows me to automate it in or out if need be. I can change the gain of the click. I like my click kind of high. And sometimes, honestly, I like to, play with the settings to hear it, like if I'm recording and I wanted to cut through the mix a little bit. This is something called binaural panning, a little bit more of an advanced thing, so no need to get into that. I like to have some of my buses on my my tracks area because I can automate. This is reverb here. This is just an overall kind of gain saturator plugin, and so I'm able to come in here and automate these things in or out based on any given session. So these are the most important plugins or the plugins or auxiliaries that I go to often. And I also have these pre-programmed, which we'll get into a little bit later. I do a lot of research. So lately I've been using Rewire. Again, this is some advanced stuff, but I'm experimenting with learning how to use Ableton within Logic. I just find that interesting. So this is all stuff you don't really need if you're a beginner, but I'm just kind of introducing you to my template and what's been working for me. I have something called iConnect MIDI. If you don't know what that is, I would suggest you look into it. It's a way for you to play, instruments or apps on your iPhone, iPad, and use them within the context of your DAW. So I'm also using that. But let's get into just, some more specific stuff. So I'm just going to hide these for now so it's just kind of easier to look at. Here, let me hide this as well. Hide that. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I like to separate my tracks so everything is clean and organized and I know where everything is. So I have a bass section here. There are a ton of great instruments, and really you can pick any of them. But for me, I like to have, a DI, which will allow me to just kind of plug in. And I usually have a setting already set up. You can look here. I've got a default setting that I like to use. So I'll open that up. And here you go. I've got my gain on the first slot there, my channel EQ, which again I have pre-programmed with my circuit here, so I can EQ things in and out rather quickly. So I'll teach you how to do that. I highly recommend you save this as a user default. So you just come in here, and this applies to all dolls, by the way. But you go to Alt K, and you learn a new assignment, and then you click on that area and rotate a knob, CC information, and then you're able to just access this quickly every single time you open up the plugin. So that really works for me because I'm consistently taking out low end, or I like things, I like to smooth things out a little bit, and so that's how I work that. I like to have a compressor. Sometimes I don't even touch the thing. I just like to have it on there. I like a little bit of analog feel. This here is my sponsor, Kilohertz. They have this phenomenal, really revolutionary plugin called Snap Heap, and you're able to do things that, would take a few minutes to just pull up, things like Bit Crush, chorus, comb filter, compressor, delay. And the cool thing is you're able to do them within certain frequencies. So this is the higher frequencies and lowers. And, you can, mix in and out the effect, increase the gain and the pan, and play with the pan here. So really, really incredible plugin. Grateful to be sponsored by them. This is another analog emulation. This works for me. This is part of my chain, something that really works. And I like to end again with a little bit more analog, a little bit more grit. And this is called NLS channel by Waves. So after that, I still like to have a bass software instrument track. One of my favorites is this Rickenbacker. I also have a ton of others that I like. Let me see if I could pull this up quickly enough. Give me a sec. Yeah, this might take a little bit, but there are several others that I really enjoy. So, look out there, and sometimes what I like to do is I like to have an audio DI bass going straight into my interface, and I'll also record the software instrument together, and I find that yields really good results. So bass, this is stuff you're always going to need. Really important just to have that up and running and ready to rock. Drums. I am so big on drums. I pay a lot of attention to drums, and I really think they really make or break, a song. So I've got these kicks, pre-set up, claps pre-set up, Studio Drummer, which is kind of, a classic among, the industry. Really good stuff. And I've got those ready to go. So whenever I want to play, we're all ready to go. Let's see here. This sound good right out, don't even have much processing, to be honest. All this stuff has not really even been configured yet. You can see. But yeah, really good stuff. And a good trick on Logic is if you want to, turn off both of these plugins at the same time, all you do is you hold Shift, click that little box there, and then everything goes out. So yeah, I have a, pre-set up claps, kicks, and there's my studio drummer. This is really more for loops, which kind of leads me to my next category, which is called loops. Here I have, loops already ready to go in case I just want to draft an idea. Sometimes I'll just draft an idea without being attached to the actual concept. I just want something there. So here's like a hip hop kind of trap beat. So yeah, like just like to have an idea, just ready to go whenever you're in the zone, and then I could refine a little bit later. So this is my loop section. I just like to have that handy. I know I'm going to use them every once in a while, so might as well have that handy. I'm a big machine guy for any machine heads out there by Native Instruments. Here's my MIDI channel, so I can go ahead and import anything by machine via MIDI. And of course a machine audio track as well, should I need to import that way. Again, these are decisions that I will no longer be making because I've set myself up beforehand. So I'm just trying to save you time, and I'm trying to save you extra work. So let me collapse this. Got the bass, drums, default instruments for me, Alchemy, fantastic, and I like to have a string patch. Native Instruments has a phenomenal library called String Ensemble. Highly recommend it. Really deep program. Still getting to know it myself, but it's a go-to plugin. I like to have these downlifters all ready to go in my session because I use them a lot. So take a listen. And this can serve as a cymbal, and you can process them in different ways. I often will use a one knob pumper by Waves. Let's just go into the stereo, and and this could just be a cool, interesting effect. So let's just go, yeah, here, check this out. So it kind of does the side chain for you, just some quick tips, just throwing that out there. And since I do this so much, I just kind of decided to just go ahead and have that ready to go for my sessions. So that is default instruments. When you use Logic, you can take advantage of these incredible smart instruments in which you can utilize the Logic Pro app on your phone or the iPad. And I'll tell you, man, these make your life a lot easier. I won't necessarily go into the details, but sometimes I'll just draft out ideas rather quickly, and then commit later. And if you haven't really gotten into Drummer yet from Logic, I highly suggest you do. This is a powerful program. And if you're not, convinced about the sound, at least just to kind of get the juices flowing, take a listen. They sound pretty good. And you can generate more ideas just by pressing that button right there. It's one of the reasons I love Logic. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but up here I've got my global tracks, the arrangement marker, the arrangement, the marker, and the signature ready to go, ready to be changed. Should I get into that? I mostly use the marker, to be honest, just to stay clear about my songs. But every once in a while, this arrangement track is really wonderful, and I'm able to move things around, and move my song around, and just rearrange it, and it's just a very powerful tool. So just throwing that out there. Like here, for example, I just moved that chorus here, and the drummer track corresponds with the arrangement track. So it's a really interesting tool. So now you've got this automatic change that Logic just created by itself. So the second part should come in here. Etc., etc. So Anyway, really cool tracks. This is something that I've recently kind of picked up just for faster workflow. If you're not using Logic, I'm sure they have their equivalent, and really the idea is just to have all the instruments that you need available. As you can see, it's pretty concise here. Um, I go into a mix channel and a master channel. Um, this is really more kind of just an overall level channel, but here on master, you can see that I've got several different mixing plugins that I like to use. Uh, they're really just meant for metering and understanding dynamic range, and EQ. If you don't have this plugin yet, by Voxengo, incredible plugin that helps you understand, what kind of frequency information your song carries. Really cool. It's a free plugin called Span. Highly recommend it. Really been, using Reference by Mastering the Mix. Incredible plugin. You're able to check the LUFS, which is the loudness, and reference different songs that you could put in here. Highly recommend it. Phenomenal. And of course, they also have levels. You're able to check your headroom, dynamic range, stereo field, and then the bass response in your song. So I would check that out as well. All affordable and really cool. So I like to, really get into mixing and understand, what's the science of mixing and mastering. So that's a little bit about my session template. I'd like to get a little bit more into like settings. So let's go into the mixer. For that, I'll go into screen set number 2. And if you don't have screen sets, I highly recommend you get into that, because it's a way for you to look at your, your screen and be efficient. If you don't have dual screens, and this is a, fantastic way of, having quick access. So, this is screen 2 for me. Screen 3 is a kind of piano roll when I write. Screen 4 is an automation mode, so I'm ready to automate, and it's always up and running, so I can always go back from my original screen to my automation screen. 5 is a step editor. Let's see here. I've got my smart controls, and I could even kind of really get into my EQing on this specific page. Let's see here. This is my audio file editor. Should I need to do any detail edits on audio files? And that's it. So yeah, get into screen sets, really important. But we'll go back to this, and you can see here that I've set up a personalized channel strip, and I have several that I like to work with. So I'll go through a couple of these just so you understand what I'm talking about. So again, there are decisions that you make, and I'm trying to help you reduce these decisions, just to make your life a little bit easier. So if you take the time to figure out which basses you like, maybe what cymbal swells or kicks, you can kind of really move, rather quickly. So let's go here into settings, and I've got a default MIDI that I really like. So that looks something like that. All the plugins that I usually use. And then of course, I would just choose an instrument there. Default sends. This is interesting. I've picked some of the oh wait, that's not working. Sorry about that. Let me see. Yeah, that should look like this. Where is it here? Default send. So these are settings that I have pre-programmed, and I was able to through the I/O settings, I was able to name them beforehand, so I have clarity when I look at my screen here. So these are all preset, pre-formatted. So when I grab my controller that's right next to me, I can automatically bring in reverb. You can see me automating these in and out. I like having 2 verbs, 2 delays, a little bit of a kind of bit crusher, and then parallel compression. Really works for me. Really incredible. So let's go back. Yeah. So let's see here. Smart Instruments arpeggio idea. So this is something that I heard one day and I started playing with. Let's see what it is. Anyway, you can see why I saved that. Really interesting idea. Great plugin by Cthulhu, uh, arpeggiator, chord designer, among other things. Really cool. So now I've got that idea available, and that was really quick. Let's go into bass drop. See what that sounds like. Something I do a lot. I like bass drops. You know, you should have that sorted out. And if you've got Logic, highly recommend you save this, and any other program for that matter. So let's see here. Best strings. Highly recommend when you use your strings that you use an echo at the very end. A little bit of feedback. Don't make it too wet, but they really start coming out beautiful. Listen to this. The echo gives it a sense of realism and power. So just throwing that out there. I really I've been enjoying that the last couple of months. Let's check out Crystal Caverns. So I'm starting to remember why I saved this. I was working on some investigative music a couple of months ago, kind of mystery cues, police cues, and this is obviously a very creepy, mysterious sound. I was going to it a lot, so I started using that. Let's see here. This is probably another version of my default. Yeah. This is a fantastic one right here. It's called Fat Smooth Bass. I use this a lot, just to kind of get ideas down. So yeah, go to favorite bass. Let's see what this sounds like. Again, going back to that, kind of creepy music, investigative music. I remember using this quite a bit too. And so the idea is that you just have yourself kind of pre-set up, and ready to go. I've been so busy the last couple months that I haven't been able to kind of reset myself, but you know, I've got this fun bass. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, that makes sense. Fun bass. So now I'd like to talk about iOS workflow and custom key commands. This is going to save you a lot of time. So you may not be aware, but you're able to program your Mac computer, and I want to teach you how to do that. So normally, when I update my template, I do so. In the past, I had to go all the way up here, and then kind of press save as template, and then I would have to save it every single time. So I discovered that you can actually program it. Right now, I have my key command as Alt Command S, and Alt Command T, and that brings up the same save as template option. So I want to teach you how to do that. I also programmed my Mac to bring up system preferences if I hit Alt Command S. So that's a very fast way, rather than having to go down here. If you have your system preferences, saves a ton of time. So what you want to do is you want to go to keyboard, you want to go to shortcuts, and down here where it says app shortcuts, you want to add actions that that you use often here on this screen. So you just press add, you add the menu title and the keyboard shortcut. I like to rename stuff all the time and or throw the trash. So here I have Alt Command R to rename. So if I go to this screen, for example, and I want to rename this, Alt Command R, and all of a sudden now I can rename it. I'm not going to rename it, but you get the point. Or if I want to throw something in the trash, it would be T. What other commands do I have here? Export as PDF, Command F. I do that quite a lot. And then system preferences. So let's see here. For within Logic, I always bring up the plugin manager to either deactivate certain plugins or activate certain plugins. So I believe I have that programmed in as Command P. Yeah, I do. And so here, let's see. And the way I did that was internally. So I went to my key command window, which is Alt K, and I typed in plugin manager, plugin, let's see here, plugin manager, and you can see I created the key command here. So all you do is you go to learn key label, and then you type in whatever the command is. I also created a key command for new project alternative. When I was making several different stems and edits and submixes for my shows, I found that I was just continuously having to go back to this. So I found a neat way of creating key commands for these. I don't have them currently on my autoload, but I would highly recommend you create alternatives for that. And let's see here. Also, there's a fantastic feature on Logic called Automation Quick Access, and I wanna teach you about that. It will allow you to map any control or most controls in Logic and be able to automate them quickly. So at the moment I don't have this automated. So what you do is you press Command comma, and you go to this screen here where it says Automation Access, automation, and here you find this feature called Automation Quick Access. You press on, and then you press Learn Message, and you turn a knob. I currently am using the circuit by Novation, and it works really well for me, and I already pre-programmed this, so whether I'm on this channel here, I can control my volume, or I can control the volume of here. Look at this track here. So it doesn't matter which track I move to, I don't have to, sorry, wrong button there. I don't have to map it every single time. So this is great, like if you're in the zone and you're working and you just want to start automating things, this, you could just, go in a latch mode, which is right here. Really fantastic, smooth workflow, clean. Highly recommend you get into that. And also automate this here, which is, I usually use my Logic key command screen, which I can't at the moment, but and I have this as one of my featured key commands. So let's see here. There's if you didn't know, there's a fantastic feature in let's choose another preset for this. There's another fantastic feature called Capture as Recording, and basically what happens there is if you're just working on ideas, Logic automatically will record them. So let me just solo this just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. So let's just say I'm jamming here and I'm not even recording. Okay, cool. So I didn't record any of that. All of a sudden I thought that was, brilliant. all I have to do is press Shift R, and bam, there's all the MIDI information there. So I know Ableton has its own version of this, and I believe it records for 5 minutes or something like that. But this is a unique feature in Logic, so check it out. Never hit the record button, did it all by itself. So just throwing that out there. You can just get into zones, start writing, and then go into capture as recording. Let's see here. Let me bring that back. I thought this would be useful as well. Sometimes when you're editing, let's go to the piano roll screen, which I believe is 3. Yeah. I sometimes like to have more detail rather than just looking at this MIDI information. I discovered a fantastic tool here called View Note Labels. And now not only do you have the note information, but you've got the actual velocity information as well. So you're able to come in here and work a little bit more deeply and have more control, because isn't that what really this game is about, is having more control and having a sense that you are in control of your session. So yeah, note labels, really cool. Really have fallen in love with that over the last couple of months. Here, let me go back to screen 1. Cool. Let's see here. There's an interesting feature that I've been using quite a bit, and it is called, let me bring up one of these loops. Yeah, let's lower the volume on that. It's quite hot. It's called Take Folders, and again, a little bit more advanced, but I think it can get you out of a lot of binds as well. So let's just say you've got a part like, something like this, or maybe something, maybe something like this that doesn't start on the tube, but it sounds like that. Actually, that's a good part there. So here's what we'll do. Let me see what this sounds like. Okay, yeah. But you're trying to place it in different places, and it's hard to remember because, this region isn't quite perfect or what have you. Well, there's a lot of different workarounds, but one that I've been using quite a lot is called Create Pack Folder. Not Take Folder, it's something else entirely, but it's called Pack Folder. And what it does is it creates a region that's perfectly in time. So if you wanted to duplicate this, you no longer have to, torture yourself, and you can have clarity and peace of mind, and move quickly. So listen to this. Fantastic, has helped me tremendously in the last couple of months. I've used it hundreds of times, if not thousands. Love that feature. Use it all the time. Let's see here. This is somewhat unrelated, but I thought it would be useful to bring it up during this. And we'll get into some music shortly here, but I wanted to go into this sidebar and how you're able to drag items in and out. These two drives are my backups, and so what I've done is I've created these menu items here on the side, because I, rather than having to go in here, open up the, double click, and then open, this, and it just takes so much time and energy. What I did was I just created a line item here, and all of a sudden I'm where I need to be. So I highly recommend you spend some time here. Here are my project templates, and you can customize it. So if you just right click, you can remove from dock, add to dock, etc., etc. So just wanted to throw that out there, because a lot of this game is about being efficient and not troubling yourself in an unnecessary way. So that's good. Additional media category and sidebar. Let's see, a couple more things. I'd like to cover mastering the mix. I know I talked a little bit about them. Phenomenal plugins that I use for referencing. Let me bring this up. Where is reference? Here you are. Great. So, a lot of people ask me, do I have to mix? Do I have to master? And there really isn't a correct answer. I've heard mixes that sound fantastic, and they truly didn't need any more, treatment. And then on the other hand, I've heard songs that were okay, but handled with the proper mastering technician, and they really came out wonderful. So, highly recommend you definitely do this, which is create a AB reference music folder, and you create some of the best songs that you've ever heard or mixes. Here are some songs from Gary Gray that I use all the time, and these are just a bunch of popular songs from Michael Jackson to whatever, stuff from my show, and you drag, let's just use Peter Gabriel. Actually, we'll use something, yeah, Peter Gabriel, so that when you're listening to your track, you're able now to go back and forth and see what is it that they're doing that you're not. Should I add a little bit more bass, etc., etc. Let's see what this sounds like. So there's my original, and then I can go to the reference, and you get the point. You go back and forth. My LUFS is negative. Sorry, I'm at 13 and they're at 17. So great plugin to see if you're level matching with popular songs, and obviously this is an older song, so their mastering technology at the time wasn't as sophisticated as and music just wasn't as loud as it is now. But just wanted to throw that out there. Should you mix? Should you master? There's no right or wrong answer, but truly, it's up to you. The bottom line is you got to have great music. So that is important. I highly recommend you learn how to mix to be a professional, and that also might get you more gigs. And I highly recommend you learn how to master and you understand the nuances. I do both. So let's get out of here. I'm not going to say this because I've been kind of messing around, but I wanted to go into some music and just show you guys a little bit more in depth some of the songs that I've placed. And on shows like Born This Way, we have to turn in so much music that I'm lucky enough to have several writers that fix up demos for me to work on. So here's a song by a phenomenal artist, local guy that I work with. His name is Devin Noel, and I'd like to show you a little bit about his work and some of the things that we did to a song called A Defining Moment that placed quite a bit on Born This Way Season 3. And I want to talk about why it works, on an arrangement level, on a composition level, and I just want to inspire you to think a little bit differently, because TV is not like pop music, in the sense that it's a little bit different. So you have to start thinking differently. Here's the website. Check them out. Great string arranger, virtuoso pianist, and just an overall phenomenal jazz guy. So check them out. So this song, is a pretty simple song. It's only got 20 something tracks here. Piano, drums, acoustics, strings, and bass. I could tell I was working on this quickly, and I must have been on a deadline simply because I don't have all the icons set up, and I could tell that I just kind of ran through this song. But I'd like to play a little bit and tell you about some of my decisions and why I made the decisions that I made. Check it out. It's kind of a long intro. I wanted the editors to have the option to edit this out. So this is interesting because you're not really hearing this part, but you're feeling it more than anything. A little percussion here to build the dynamics and create a sense of stability. Strings will create emotion, bass power. These strings were automated in, as you can see. Give it a sense of realism. brought in the guitars for a little bit of high-end sheen. Bass line here. So we start to fade out the guitar, and you start hearing the piano on the right channel. Yeah, this was a great song. Really loved it. Brings back a lot of good memories. Waking up at 3:30 in the morning. So when I heard this track in its demo form, I really heard emotion, desire, like a yearning. And so my first thing that I did was I fixed piano. There was a piano track there that sounded very muffled, and I just wanted it to be very clean and simple. So this is what I created. And we talked about this track here that you don't necessarily hear, but you feel. And these are some of the subtleties that'll get you gigs. Listen to this. You're pulling emotion from the viewers, and then it's out. It's no longer necessary, no longer serves a purpose in the song, because other characters have come in to support the same role, which is to bring emotion and power to the song. I love to make my swells very warm. I like to add a lot of air, a lot of high-end sheen with this plugin by Steven Slate. Phenomenal. Took a little bit of volume, it was kind of loud. And then I also, let's see, what did I do here? Let me try and remember. I removed some of the mid gain with another free plugin by Voxengo called MSED. And so you can see here that I removed some of the middle to make more room for the bass. And I kept the side gain where it is here. This is a tactic I use a lot to try and create room in the frequency spectrum. Here, take a listen. You gotta make room for all these different elements. So, yeah. So this is a TV song, not that many tracks, but it's effective. And when something's good, people are going to use it. The music supervisor is going to like it. The editors are going to receive it. They're going to remember you, man. They're going to remember the tracks, the emotion, and the moments and the soundscapes that you create. So I just wanted to show you that track. I thought it was really cool track that could inspire you. So I'm not going to save that. I'd like to show you another writer that I work with. I work with him quite a bit, and he makes a lot of demos for me monthly. And we wrote this song for Born This Way season 3, and we were writing a lot of positive, feel-good music. I highly recommend you start to learn this genre, and you learn it well, because it's kind of it's kind of bulletproof in a lot of ways. So yeah, feel good, positive music will get you in the door for sure. So he sent me this session. I worked on it quickly. Just want to talk about the psychology of this track. The first thing is that immediately upon listening, it hooks you. Check it out. Shaker on the right side, just on the 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we bring one in on the left side here. simple to the point, not overly complicated. You got 13 tracks here. Okay, so besides having a fantastic hook and intro, it's got a really strong ending as well. So I just want to talk about the drums really quick, and then we'll call it. So these drums, I worked on these quite a bit. Here are the drums that I got. Really compressed, really being pushed. And I wanted to add more guts and just a sense of power and rawness to them. So I used what they call New York compression or parallel compression, and I pulled up one of my favorite drum kits by one of my favorite companies called 8Dio, and it's called Blackbird. And what I did was I really compressed it with CLA drums, and I ended up with this. In fact, I'll show you this one first. And here's with the parallel compression. Now all of a sudden you've got this sense of realism and a sense of power that you didn't have before. I mean, listen to the song without the parallel compression. It sounds like a kid. It sounds like a joke, and now all of a sudden you have the power behind it, and it really creates a basis. Another trick I used just to kind of wrap it up here is I used a call and response with these two guitars here, panned one a little bit to the right and one a little bit more mid-center, and you've got this kind of back and forth between these two. This one has more delay. And more delay. And then at the very end, I wanted to create a different tone for the song since we were at a different part of the song in the outro, and I used a phenomenal plugin called Primal Tap, which just gave this guitar so much character. Take a listen. And for me, this is what it's really all about. It's about caring about the music, being responsible for your listeners, and taking them on a journey. Well, thank you so much for being here on the first module of how to be a full-time TV composer with Eddie Gray. I'll see you guys on the next module. Cheers.